All right, let's do it. Here we go. Ready? Let's jump right in. Okay, so we got these questions on the right. You got 89%. That's a pretty good score. I don't know what you're worried about. Looks like you're about to kick butt.
Yeah, it's just a lot of nerves. And I know the first one I got wrong because I didn't read the question right with the word not. So I think it's not. Oh no. Which one? Okay.
Let me move that little icon out of the way. All right. What do you think? Let's read it. Let's do it.
What is the basis of the market data approach to appraisal?
What do you think?
So principle of substitution.
Good. And that's one of those you just kind of have to know. Do you know what the principle of substitution is?
No.
All it is just saying that if you have another item of equivalent value and it's a lower price, you'll get that one. So if you see two pairs of shoes and one costs less than the other, you could substitute it so you would get that. Really, these are just principles. I often talk about how I hate it when people say that none of this applies to what you're actually going to do. But this is actually one of those things where that's true.
Okay. Pedro sold Happyland to Josh. At the time, Happyland had an opportunity easement across Pleasantville, which was owned by Jethro. When Josh tried to use the easement, Jethro protested, which of the following is correct? That one was kind of tricky.
So first of all, what's a pertinent easement?
Is that the right to use the neighbor's land?
Right, it goes with the property.
So I guess if that's because the easement was already there.
Uh-huh.
Right.
So Pedro sold Happyland to Josh. Excuse me. Okay. Happyland has an easement across it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That easement is owned by Jethro. All right. So when Josh tried to use the easement, Jethro protested. So Josh bought the property under the same rules that Pedro had the property. So if Pedro had the right to cross, so did Josh.
Okay.
So what do you think the answer is?
I have to reread.
What do we say an appurtenant easement is?
The right to use a neighbor's land.
Well, that's what an easement is. What's an appurtenant easement?
Oh.
And actually, easement is the right to cross somebody's land.
Okay, I guess I don't know the personal.
So appurtenant easement runs with the property. So do you see this one here?
Yes.
Okay, so that one's a little tricky. There's a lot of information you even need. It's just basically asking you, do you know what an appurtenant easement is? Let's save that one and we'll go back to it, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so read that one.
Which of the following approaches to value would be most concerned with the present worth of the future potential benefits of the property? Future potential benefits. Would it be the cost?
Okay, so let's talk about this. What is the cost approach?
Would that be with like the new buildings, the special buildings?
Good. Why?
It's the cost replacement approach because it would see how much does it cost to replace a building.
Excellent. And so you mentioned that's more applicable with newer buildings or special buildings such as libraries, police stations, schools, things of that nature. Because there is no income with those and they don't have comparables.
Yes.
Okay? So the income approach has to do with how much money it's going to bring in the future. Things have to do with the cost approach. It's never about the benefits of the money in the future.
Okay.
Okay? Let's go to another one.
Mrs. Jones, an appraiser, is appraising a single-family residence for which she has located 6 closely comparable properties, also within the past 6 months. The subject property is rented per $500 per month. It is a custom-built home, approximately 3 years old. Mrs. Jones would probably give the most weight in her final estimate of value to which of the following appraisal methods. This one, I got tricked with first comparable properties, and then I went to 500 per month.
Like
So those,
that's great because I can totally see why that's confusing. So on one hand, it's mentioning it's a family resident, and
mhm,
then it's also saying how much it rents for. So
yes.
so what do you think the answer is? Then we'll talk about it.
Uh, I went back and I went with comparable properties, which is market data approach.
Good. Okay, so market data is the most common one used. So always default to that if you can. Because the key thing, this is a single family residence, okay, which is
Mhm.
located close to 6 comparable properties. So most importantly, it's the comps because she's selling it in an area where people live. She's not selling it in an area of just pure income buildings.
Okay.
Does that make sense? She's next to other residential homes. So, for example, if you had a house in Main Street, USA, okay, like very generic house, white picket fence, all that, dog in the front yard, and somebody rented out, one of the bedrooms to their uncle, okay, and he paid some money to help the family with the mortgage. Would you start doing income analysis on that building? Or would you just look at the comparables to the other houses in the area?
If he,
So it's just random uncle who's just staying there, like Full House, that show from the 80s, where the uncle just goes in and he's just paying rent.
would that would be the income.
Well, not really, because it's not really an income building. It's a personal residence in a residential neighborhood where they happen to be renting out a room.
Okay.
So the great majority of people buying that place are just people who want to live there. So you compare it to other homes.
Okay. The market data.
Now you could use the income approach for things, but the bigger one is the market data approach.
So, I guess the question is, how would you like pick out the keywords in the question as far as like the comparable properties and then the 500 per month?
That one, where you see single family residence.
Okay.
That's the giveaway in this one.
Okay, the giveaways. That's what I guess what I
Right.
guess.
And I understand how you could argue the gross rent multiplier cost approach,
Hmm.
but the market data approach is the most common one used, so that's the one you want to default to if you're confused.
Okay.
Okay, but single family residence is kind of the
An agent must submit all new offers to the owner until close of escrow.
boom, good. Excellent. And you understand what that's about, right?
Yes, I think escrow was like whenever the buyer and the seller has money into it, and a third party holds that.
Exactly. Good job. So basically, what this is saying is, although the seller may not accept any offers, or maybe he can't accept any offers because he's in contract, you still present them. You can't hide information.
At first, I thought that whenever escrow is into starts, then I didn't think you would need to submit any new offers.
Well, you do. Now, as I said, they may not be able to do anything with them. What they could be is end up being backup offers. So in case escrow falls apart, the seller knows what else he's got out there.
Okay, so escrow is not something that it's already in binding. It's just something that just to see basically if it's going to default or not.
No, it's binding depending on the contract, but the deal's not done. So when you go into escrow, it's saying, you know what, I accept your offer based upon you being able to get a loan, based upon this house appraising. So I can't accept other offers yet but if the deal falls apart, I have those offers on the table. And it all
Okay.
depends what's agreed upon. The key thing here in this question, if it said the seller requests to not accept any more offers, that's different. But it doesn't say that here.
Yeah.
So you got to see what the options are.
Okay. A mechanic's lien will be properly classified as an specific lien.
Good. And you understand the difference between a specific lien and a general lien?
Yes, specific is basically just like a home. It's just the one thing, and general is everything.
Can you give me an example of a specific lien other than the one in this, other than a mechanic's lien?
A mortgage.
Good. Okay. Give me another one.
Um,
So you're doing great. You got two.
I think it's only the two specific lien. Is an easement one?
No, because the easement has to do with money. Another specific lien would be like property taxes.
Okay.
Can you give me a general lien?
Is is a general kind of like a foreclosure?
Well, that's the action taken on your property when you don't pay your property taxes or your loan. So that's specific lien. So foreclosure is not the lien. The foreclosure is what to do when you don't pay it. That's the action. So example of a general lien would be like income tax, or if you lose a judgment in court.
Okay.
Like if somebody doesn't pay child support and they lose in court, then the court can come after things above and beyond the property, correct?
Yes.
So that's a general lien.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
That's the tougher one. You're doing great. I'm just pushing you a little.
Yes.
So I hope you don't mind. I hope you don't feel bad.
No, not at all. I'd rather know the full.
Yeah, and as I said, you've been studying. You're doing great. I'm just kind of trying to take everything you do to one step further.
All of the following are steps in the appraisal process except considering the seller's estimate of the property's value.
Excellent. Good. Why is that the answer?
I went with because the word considering the seller's estimate.
Okay.
Um,
Because the seller's opinion of the value shouldn't matter.
yes.
The whole point of appraisal is supposed to be neutral. That's why, unfortunately, you see these terribly shady appraisers, which unfortunately is more common practice when people get divorced.
Mm-hmm.
They have to find the value of the property, because obviously they're going to estimate its value for the divorce proceedings.
Mm-hmm.
And very often they'll go to the person who's paying them and be like, how much do you want this value to be?
Oh, yeah.
He's like, I work for you. You let me know. Like, that's
Yeah.
incredibly shady because it's supposed to be neutral.
Mm-hmm.
They're just saying, here's the value. Same thing with the seller. It's not what they think. It's what the appraiser thinks. Because then this is screwing over the buyer. Because obviously the seller is going to give the value that's most advantageous for them.
Yes.
So,
A house with outmoded plumbing is suffering from. So I didn't know what the word outmoded mean. And
I think it's supposed to be outdated. That might be a
Okay, because that's why I got it wrong.
All right, well, that might be my bad. I'm going to put this into feedback.
Okay, outmoded. So I kind of guessed on that one, but I did go back and if we go with outdated, a house with outdated plumbing is suffering from functional obsolescence.
Excellent. It is outdated. So I got to fix that.
Okay.
All right. So a house with outdated plumbing is suffering from functional obsolescence. What is functional obsolescence?
When there's like a home with uh 4 bedrooms and 1 restroom or like 1 garage, it
Good.
doesn't function.
I often give the example of if you have a house for an old lady in a wheelchair and it's got 5 stories, is that functional for her?
No.
No, it's not. So that would be functionally obsolete for her. The big example they like to show in the exams is if you have like a 5 bedroom house with a 1 car garage.
Yes.
Okay.
Pretty fits. Three friends were concurrent owners of a parcel of real estate. One of the friends died, and his interest passed according to his will to become part of his estate. The deceased friend was a tenant in common.
Good. Excellent. A lot of people get that wrong, but you did great there.
I went with joint tenant is no will, and then tenant in common you can live a will.
Good. Well, joint tenancy, I don't think you need a will. It just goes right to the other owners. And tenancy in common would go to your heirs. The other owners don't have the rights to it.
Yeah.
Good. What are the 4 things that make a joint tenancy joint tenancy?
Is that the stud?
Nope, that's for value.
Oh man.
And just real quick, for value, what you're referring to is scarcity, transferability, utility, demand.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this has to do with the to tip.
Oh my gosh, yes. That's is that transferability, possession?
Write this down. Do you have a paper?
Yes.
Joint tenancy has to tip, which is time, title, interest, and possession.
Yeah.
Okay, and tenancy in common just has possession. And the other thing that makes joint tenancy, which is what we're referring to in this question, is the right of survivorship.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
good.
The quantity survey method, unit in place method, and the square or cubic foot methods in real estate appraisal most directly relate to the cost approach.
Excellent.
Which of the following approaches to value would be most concerned with the present worth of the future potential benefits of the property? Future potential benefits. Income.
Okay,
Your benefits.
good.
Future. Pedro. Sold Happy Land to Josh. That one we. Opportunity easement always passes when the property is sold. Okay, so I guess I have a question. So the opportunity easement, that's the one. I guess I had my vocabulary little words, and I had opportunities run with the land, and then I had opportunity easement was the right to use of like the neighbor's land, right to cross the neighbor's
One and
land.
the same. They don't contradict each other. So an appurtenant easement is the right to use somebody's property to get across.
Okay.
Okay. And the word appurtenant just means it goes with the property. So you're defining an easement, which a appurtenant easement is a type of easement. So obviously you could use other people's land to get to your own.
Okay.
Right? An appurtenant easement is a type of easement.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So whenever the ones you had questions on, I think you've been studying, and you've been doing pretty well. So you let me know you want to do. We could go over more, or we could do this again. I don't mind doing this again with you. You seem perfectly nice and totally sane and reasonable. You know.
I didn't understand also the installment, the word, I guess just the word installment, because there was like a lot of like installment land contract.
Yeah.
Um,
This is what you're talking about. It's also known as an installment sales contract.
Yes.
Okay. All it means is that the buyer is going to pay the seller money on an installment basis.
The buyer's gonna pay the. Whenever I see the word installment and I see one of the questions, I go with the word defer. I think is it defer?
No, well here, this says it really well here. Okay. See that part I'm highlighting there?
Yes.
The buyer agrees to pay the seller the purchase price plus interest installments over a period of time. Basically, the seller becomes the lender. So you have a property, okay, and instead of us going through, Bank of America or one of those, you just lend me the money. And when I mean lend me the money, you're not actually lending me money. You're just kind of postponing the payment. I'm paying you on an installment basis. And obviously we form an agreement where there could be foreclosure and all that other stuff too. Same as with the bank. But
Is that something close? I'm sorry. Is that something closer like that one vocabulary, the purchase money, it's called purchase money back or something, where um, the seller extends credit to the buyer to, I guess, to like close the transaction for a closing?
yes, that's seller financing. The difference with the
Installment.
installment sales contract is how title is dealt with. But yes, they're very similar.
Okay.
Yeah. And by the way, you see what I'm doing here, how you can look stuff up.
Yes.
So, and that's what I talk about when a lot of people say I want help with this, happy to help them. I always say look it up first, and if they still don't understand it, then come to me. Because a lot of this is right there. And you've done that. The questions you're asking are not stuff you could just look up simply. Like that last one, we looked it up and you were still like, I'm still not sure, even that definition. And so that's a great question to ask me like you did. Because, you're like, I look it up, I see it still not clicking,
No.
And that's where I want that time reserved for
Yes.
with me. It just drives me nuts when people ask me stuff that it's like right there.
Yeah, I was trying to pick up the words that are like I can learn on my own, but
Yeah, and that's the important thing. And also by doing that, you're actually going to learn more. Because when you're sitting there analyzing what can I learn on my own, what can't I, you're going to look at it and be like, can I learn this on my own? Let me give it a whirl. And then you'll find in 1 minute, wow, I learned it on my own. I didn't need them at all. Or you may find like I tried and it's just not sinking in. I just don't get this.
yes.
And people like that, I'd love to help. I just can't stand the people who come to me like, I have an exam and I know nothing. What do I do? It's like, yeah,
That's pretty.
right. It's just like, really,
Okay. All right. Well, I don't know if there's anything else.
Well, if there is, just write to me.
Okay.
And if really need be, we'll set up another time.
All right.
So there may not be something now, but in your time studying, stuff may come up, and I'm here for you, and we'll get it done.
Okay.
Okay? And I'll also edit this video so we sound super smart.
Yes.
And I'll put it on YouTube. And also remember, I didn't mention your name once in this whole thing, so don't worry
Okay.
about your name being up. That wasn't by accident.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. So it's more so you could see it, and then in that vein, other people could see it and learn from it too. But and then so you'll be able to go back and see the stuff we spoke about.
Okay.
Sound good?
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Then I'll talk to you soon. You got my
Okay.
number.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Talk to you
All
soon.
right.
Bye.